Big news for BirdDog users. Our previous integration with BirdDog cameras was built on the VSCA protocol, but now we have taken it to the next level and released a brand new integration based on BirdDog's RestAPI over HTTP, unlocking even more detailed control than ever before. And this means you get more flexibility, more precision, and more possibilities. And it's not just for the latest X1 and X5 Ultra cameras, it is also for the trusted favorite, the P200. And this is still work in progress, but we're excited to share it because it has a huge potential. So with PTZ Pro today, we'll look at how we can control these cameras using that implementation, but it's also valid for PTZ Fly, which is one of the favorites out there. And we have PTZ Extreme, we have PTZ View, PTZ Wiz, other PTZ controls from SKAARHOJ. And in common for all of them is that they share the same system inside. The software that talks to the cameras is the same across those 5 control panels. And therefore what you see today can be applied to each one of them. This is PTZ Pro, and it has some advantages in that it has many direct buttons to access presets directly, to access the menu directly, and camera selector down here. We'll look at some of those things today. But let's just quickly see that we can control the P200 over here. So that's the legacy camera control and support. Then we have X1 right here. We can control X1 with the joystick as well. We can also recall presets. So let's just recall a preset on that one. You see it's going into some position that I've pre-programmed. I'm recalling preset number 5 now. And if we want to see this, we can basically go from Reactor, the UI that comes out of PTZ Pro. This is the UI of PTZ Pro. And we have the 3 cameras set up with each their IP address. So they have individual ID numbers. And if I click the IP address here, I will go straight to the camera control of the X1 camera. So right now you see the output of this camera, and as I'm recalling presets, you can see the effect of that one. I also want to mention that we have a cool feature you can see in other videos called PTZ Trace, and if I press this blue button, it's a sort of programmed preset that goes into this position you see right now, and it's now waiting for me to start a recorded tour that involves the zooming and panning and so on. So you can basically record moves and have it automatically played back hands off, as you can see right now. I'm not touching the controller. So one of the things PTZ Pro does is that if you press and hold this one, you can basically swap the preset selector and the camera selector. And that's pretty nice when you have a trace being played back like right now, because it is showing you in this view, it is showing that now it's arming the camera. It has a 22-second trace that it can play back in a moment. So that's what the display is going to show you, which is, and you can also name your PTZ traces and your presets from the UI, which is also another really, really useful feature that you get from this. And okay, let's just do it right away. So you can quickly see it here. So if you go into the camera selector and you see the BirdDog X1 is this first line, you go to presets at the end of this, and now you can provide them a name. We could call this one Trace, and back, and then on number 5 I had the SKAARHOJ logo up front. So now you see these labels are immediately coming into your preset selector, and that was a feature of the PTZ Pro that I could just swap those 2 around by pressing and holding this button. Very, very useful and very nice. All right, so PTZ control is one of the basic things we can do, but of course we have all these nice menus with the settings, and that's a special thing for SKAARHOJ, that we integrate all the settings of the cameras so that you get them onto your controller with the exact values in the displays and so on. That's why we create a lot of value over other generic universal controllers. We become much more close to a native controller because we implement these specific settings of the cameras, and even more so with the RestAPI of these cameras, because we can do more. VSCA was limited. There was only the general things that you can do on a PTZ camera. Here we are able to integrate the specific things BirdDog has put in. Now let's take a look at, let me just see, we go to the X5 camera, and if we go into camera control, we can see the exposure here. Let me just bring up the camera, the X5 again here. For instance, we have here Full auto for the exposure. If I choose manual, you see this is brought down back to the control panel here. If we go into the white balance, we have auto white balance. We could choose user. It's going to change on the panel and so on. And of course, it's the same for the X1. So if we go to the X1 panel, just go to the IP address here, go into camera control, you'll find the same. Let me see, exposure right there. We have full auto in this case. We can go to manual and you will see, oh, there we have manual. We had full auto. We see manual right here. And if I change it on the controller, you see this is changing along in the UI as well. Of course it does. Now, one of the things that is exciting about this one is that it has a color matrix. And color matrix allows you to do really detailed control of the colors on your image. And if we go to one of the last menu items here, you see we have matrix 1, matrix 2, and there we start having red and blue hue. So if I change these values, you see I'm basically changing this value here. And that allows me to do detailed shading of the X1 camera. That's pretty neat. Let's just mess up these numbers a little bit here. So we have the blue here. And if I press again on the U4 button, I get to the next page here where we have green, yellow, magenta, and cyan. So that's the remaining factors. Now I'm just changing it in the UI so you can see it's reflected here. And now I'll just mess these numbers up by turning these dials. And I guess if we go back to camera control, we have some semi-crazy. Actually, it looks pretty cool. Anyway, so color matrix is one of the features that a color artist would really like to have to paint cameras to match them up. And you can also have that on an RCP Pro from SKAARHOJ if you want to control them with a professional RCP. But it's broken out onto the menus of a PTZ Pro like this one or PTZ Fly. That's really pretty neat. Before we end this video, I would like to show you how you can add your own commands to the menu on the PTZ Pro. And it happens inside the UI reactor that comes straight out of the PTZ Pro. If you go to the configuration tab, this is where it happens. And what you see here is that you have different sections that you can work on. You can either use auto, and that will basically bring you to directly to the settings for that knob that you're currently controlling. So you see, as I'm currently having yellow hue right here on this button, if I press that, it will be brought up here. But actually, it's also possible inside here to navigate the pages of the menu, the ones that you are selecting by using the buttons here. And if I go to this plus button, I can add my own extra page. Great. And now I have this extra page, which is blank. And on that blank page, I want to put something that I care about. So I'll press the encoder number 1, and you can go into the BirdDog PTZ camera here. And one thing that's important is actually that you kind of enable this one, because if you enable this toggle, it means that the 3 cameras will be selected based on the camera selector ID, selecting ID 1, 2, or 3, and that will now also be used when it select the parameter right here. I want to put down exposure mode. So what it means is if I have now exposure mode here and I go to another camera, that will be exposure mode for all of these cameras, because it's changing the ID as a part of the parameter. Otherwise, you would have exposure mode of the first camera on all 3 of them if you didn't do it this way. All right, so that's a technical detail. I click encoder 2, I can put in compensation level here. You see how easy it would be to basically set up new menu items on any of these tabs in the menu, and it will be a part of, basically, if I press here, then you can see I'm cycling with this knob. I'm cycling through my menu, and I end up on my extras page at the very end here. And this is why I have my new assigned commands. In this way, you can not only add stuff, but you can also change the existing stuff in what makes most sense, namely in the menu, where you can customize it for what you care about, while many of the other things automatically, the camera selector, the preset selector, the advanced trace function built into that, that's all given to you by the default configuration, which is what most people are using to control their cameras. These are default configurations that SKAARHOJ has designed to give you a really out-of-the-box, great and powerful PTZ control experience, or whatever other control panel you're using. It could be if you had a video switching panel. We also have a default configuration for video switches, but even more so for PTZ control and shading control, out-of-the-box functionality, but still the ability to override it with your own custom settings. Hit like and subscribe to stay ahead with our latest innovations. Join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And for deep insights, pro tips, and the latest feature releases, you should subscribe to our newsletter. We also have a friendly SKAARHOJ sales and support team. They are always ready to help you maximize your setup, and all the links to that good stuff is in the description below.